Hi, peeps. Spanking is one of those topics that can be very controversial, but I think it's because of the fact that there's so much confusion around it. Many people misunderstands the meaning of spanking. So I chose to do this video to try and give clarity to the meaning of spanking and to highlight the positives and negatives that's responsible for this wide spectrum that divides so many of the people. You have so many on one side that's adamant that spanking should not be part of discipline because they think it's abusive. And then on the other side, just as adamant are the ones who lives by the fact that spanking is necessary in child rearing because they believe that spanking aids parents in molding and shaping their children into the respectable young adults that they need to be in society. So today I chose to do this video on spanking, and it's because of a show that I had seen, and the show was called The Parent Test. And on that show, you had multiple couples that came together, and each couple represented a different parenting style. And so the show presented these couples with scenarios such as stranger danger, a lot of different scenarios. And what happens is that as each couple goes through that particular scenario, then the rest of the couples actually judge or grade of sort that couple on how they handled it. And it's all to see which parenting style is most effective in navigating these various situations that those parents are put into. So what I'm going to do is I'll just play a clip. It's only like 4 minutes and 8 seconds. And I'll just stop it throughout as they come to pertinent parts of this clip that I want you to discuss with you guys and to hear your thoughts of. So peeps, I desperately want to hear your thoughts about this. So please weigh in on the topic as much as you can. Every time you hear something that you don't agree with or that you do agree with, please put that in the comment area for me, and I will be sure to get back to you and comment on your comments. So let's get right into it. So we're going to go ahead and focus on one of those parenting groups, parenting styles, and that's the strict parenting style. Okay, let's take a look.
Discipline in our family can work in many, many different ways. You guys feel like you got worked out? I'm definitely unapologetic about having my kids do push-ups if that's what I feel like they need to do. Spanking comes in every once in a while. If there's a shock factor with it.
So, did you notice the facial expression and the head shakes when Mr. Mills, the daddy for the strict couple, mentioned push-ups and spanking as forms of discipline? So what I want to know from you, what do you think about push-ups? Do you think push-ups are okay as a form of discipline, or do you think it's unnecessary and maybe even harsh? I don't think it's bad because push-ups actually benefits us because it tones muscle, right? And we do have it in schools. In the schools, children are given exercises to do. Where I think it becomes a problem is if the parent doesn't consider the age group of the children, because it would be unnecessary and very cruel if you had a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old forced to do 20 or 30 push-ups, right? Even 10 push-ups in my book, they're just 5 or 6. But in the clip, we see that all 3 of the children were teens. So, and we also heard the number 10 when they were talking about doing the push-ups. So it kind of like goes with the age. So that part I can say the parents were okay with. But we can look a little further at the clip and see what the negatives are with that push-ups as a for that particular family, that is. So why don't we go ahead and look at the next part of the clip? And in it, you'll see a role play, whereas the children will play the role of the parents and the parents will play the role of the children. Take a look.
It's Opposites Day. Kids, you will be your parents.
Oh.
And parents, you will act like the kids.
No.
Well, I can say I can have my tablet back.
I can have ice cream, right?
I said no ice cream. 10 push-ups. 10 push-ups now.
10 push-ups. Oh no.
5 push-ups
Why
now.
do I have to do push-ups?
I said so. Mom, no, you don't have to do it. Don't get your hands off my
And I just saw this, like, something snapped in him.
You're grounded for a year if you don't listen to that.
He's like, I'm in charge. Like,
Watching them makes me wonder, gives me pause to say, okay, is that what they see in me in terms of being a parent? All right, dishes are done.
But these were dirty.
Oh, are they?
You didn't wash these?
See, there you go. You heard them say 10, and then one of the I think it was the boy, he said 10, and then he said 5. So we know that children repeat what their parents say and so forth. So if that's what they were doing 10, then that's why he uttered it. So it's feasible for that age group that they're in. So I don't think it was a harsh thing that he was doing, and it wasn't to try and break or hurt his children, you know. It was just nobody wants to do push-ups, right? Also, something that caught my attention was, I mean, I can totally understand why the son, in his role as a father, told his dad to do 10 push-ups, because the dad ate the ice cream and he wasn't supposed to eat ice cream. But he proceeded to turn to his mom and tell his mom to do 5 push-ups. And she was like, why do I have to do push-ups? And what did he say? Those 4 words that I feel no parent should ever tell their children. And again, we know that those 4 words are uttered in that household, because otherwise the son would not have said it in his role as the parent, right? Because I said so. That's no. Because when I heard that, him say that, it made me think and wonder whether that important part of discipline is taking place in that household. And that important part is the reasoning behind discipline. You know, the teachable moments, the moments when parents will take their children and pull them to the side, possibly sit down with them and tell them, let them know what the why is, why they're doing the push-up, why they're being disciplined, because that's important. Because if you don't give the whys and make that a teaching moment, then it's just punishment with no lessons learned. And what's the point of that? That's when it's like you're punishing your children just to be punished, just to punish them. And I'll tell you the rest of that. But first, let me mention the other part of that part of the clip, because it ended with the daughter, when she was talking to her father, who was in the role of the son. She told him to wash the dishes. He was washing the dishes, but then she said, told him to wash the dishes again. And he said, I already washed the dishes. And she said, you call this washed? And what did she do? Toss the dishes in the sink. Why do that? That was another golden opportunity for teaching the kids. I mean, the parent could have taught the child, hey, this is why it's important that you make sure the dishes are washed, because there's things like bacteria and so forth that grows on the dishes, and they could make your home, I mean, your family sick. So teach them that. And they can even help to teach them as to what they should expect when they go out to eat. You know, you don't want to eat at a restaurant that has dirty utensils, because you may pick up anything at that restaurant. You know, it's a way in helping your child to be safe when they're out in the street. So it's different things. It's that teaching that you have to do when you give discipline to your children, because all the time you don't have to spank, or you don't have to time out. A lot of times, especially if it's a first time occurrence, you just speak to your children and teaching them. And then if they do it again or make it maybe a third time, you may want to do something different as far as discipline. But talking to them is the most important thing to help them to understand and realize and recognize what's wrong with what they did. Because if they don't know what's wrong with what they did, then they're going to continue doing it, right? Right. So we have to do the teaching along with the disciplining. And something I did note that was a plus was when the father, towards the end of what we just saw, he said, it makes me think, is that what they see in me as a parent? So clearly what this experience that he's gone through with this show is actually helping the parents. Even though on the show they didn't go into detail about the teaching moments and so forth, at least we see how the parent, the father, is getting it. You know, he asked himself that question, is that what they see in me as a parent? So it's good to see that he's reflecting on that, and maybe it'll take it further so he can understand and make changes in how he's parenting from that point on. So that was a good thing. So why don't we go ahead and don't you guys agree? Don't you guys agree that was very, very good? I like that. And it put a smile on my face when I heard him say that, because that means he's taking note of what's happening. It would be bad if he didn't say anything at all. I don't even know if I would have caught on to that part, but it would have been, it's a good thing that he did catch on. Okay, so let's move on with the clip.
I just watched that.
I want to bring this back to a very important topic of our day. I want to bring it back to spanking and acknowledging everyone's faith. In some faiths, it may be a doctrine that if you spare the rod, the child is spoiled.
Go ahead.
I was raised very strict and I was spanked as a kid. And I'm gonna tell you, it feels humiliating. And then when I did it, it came back a full circle, and I felt this was not for the kid. This is for me. Like, I put my anger now impulsively on my kid, and I think this will change something.
That's not how you're supposed to. If research, education-wise, you're not supposed to spank out of anger.
So tell me, what do you think about Yan's from the routine parenting style, from what he said? Tell me what you think in the comment area. What I thought is, well, for one, he made a couple of mentions in his statement that makes me believe that what he experienced was something other than spanking. Yes, he's calling it spanking, but I believe it was something other than spanking. And this is the reason why. What were the two things he said? He said he felt humiliating. And he said that when he spanked his children, that he felt it was more for him, that it was for him, not more for him. He said it was for him and not for his kids. So that led me to believe that, because he said he was angry when he whipped them, but that's not how it's supposed to be. Our spanking, when we spank our children, is not supposed to be to release our anger that we have. Because for one, what reason do we have to be angry? Think about it. These are children. We already lived our life. So a lot of times when we go through something, it's just like if you're on a job and you learn the job, it's like second nature to you. And so when new people come in, you're expecting them to catch on really quick. But you have to reflect back. Did I catch on really quick? And so it's the same thing with our young ones, with our children. These are people that we love. These are our loved ones, our precious little children. And we shouldn't be expecting them to know more. We know how it was when we were growing up. We didn't know. So we're supposed to be patient with our children. So that anger should never creep up in there when they err, when they make a mistake, because that's them growing up. They need that room to make mistakes and to learn from those mistakes. Our part as the authority figure is to help our children to learn from the mistakes that they made and know that what they did was wrong or where they messed up, and then direct them in the way that they should go so that they can be, going back to what we said at the beginning, be respectable young adults in society today. But another thing I say about that, the humiliating part, I mean, I don't see how spanking or discipline can be humiliating. I guess spanking. I don't see how spanking could be humiliating. And I really shouldn't weigh in on that part of it because I never had a spanking. I got hit once and that was in the face. But like I said, that's not spanking. And that goes back to what I was saying at the beginning as well. People misunderstanding the meaning of spanking. Spanking is not an open hand to a child's face. That's abuse, right? So we need to recognize what spanking is, and what it's not. So, and for him, so when he said he felt humiliating, I thought one of two things: either whoever it was that was chastising him or rearing him, that they did so in the public, they spanked them in the public, which is something that I never do for my children. I would never spank my children in public. And number two, they actually made him pull down his pants maybe to spank him. That would be humiliating. So it was probably one of those two things, if not both. We don't know because that's his experience, and he really didn't expound on that. He didn't tell us everything or why he felt humiliating or how he was spanked or whatever, but that's what comes to my mind, because to me, spanking is not humiliating. How could spanking be humiliated if it's done the right way? I mean, it's your parents spanking you. They've already seen you, so they the one spanking you. How are you humiliated? And then you're being spanked in front of your siblings, possibly. How is that humiliating? Siblings do all kind of crazy, weird, gross things amongst each other or in front of each other. So how could you be humiliated just because you were spanked in front of, and especially when they get spanked as well? So something else is happening, and it's either one of the two or something I don't know anything about. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment area, because I don't know. I may be wrong, especially since I've never been spanked. I never been spanked. My siblings were, but I was not spanked. But anyway, so that one kind of gave me pause. And what I think about it as well is the fact that you could totally understand why Yan, as a child, would misunderstand what spanking is, to believe that whatever it is that he was experiencing was spanking. But if it was that bad for him, if it gave him pause and a reason for being humiliated, then maybe it wasn't spanking. Maybe it's something that went beyond. And as an adult, once he made it as an adult, he should have been able to differentiate and see that what he did experience as a child was not spanking, but that it was something else. You know what I mean? We have to, instead of looping it all together. So instead, I don't know if he did research or anything. Clearly he may not have. But as an adult, to still say that you were spanked during your childhood and it was humiliating, that means you did not do the research, or that means you don't care to understand what spanking really is. So it's just that I know what happened to me when I was young. I know that they were saying that they were spanking me, and therefore spanking is bad. Spanking is abuse, but it really isn't. And so I think that's a touchy one. Please tell me what you guys think in oh, my back is hurting. Tell me what you guys think in the comment area. All right, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next clip.
Well, let me see a show of hands. A show of hands of parents who spank.
I was shocked when we did a show of hands of how many parents have hit their kids. Violence is not a tool that's in our kit. It's just exerting power.
So I grew up in a household I used to get hit every day.
But what if you don't understand your child? And if you're wrong, the issue too, folks, is this. There's some people who grew up being spanked and they say, I'm successful because of it. But then, how do we know they aren't successful in spite of it?
So this really plucked my nerves with him saying that, because he did mention the part about the doctrine that says spare the rod, spoil the child. And then he turns around and say that how do we know that children who were spanked aren't successful despite spanking? Because of what you just said. So the success doesn't come from not being spanked, it comes from being spanked. So the spanking, the spoiling of the child doesn't come from spanking the child, it comes from not spanking the child, because that's what the doctrine said. And just to make it more clearer, think about him, that expert. If he was to make an invention today or tomorrow, who best can explain to the rest of us how that invention best works and the ins and out of that invention? He would, right? So it's that same way with the doctrine. Who's responsible for the doctrine? He's the one who created everything. So who's best to tell us how to proceed with rearing a child? The one who did the doctrine. But he brought it up, and I just wanted to touch on it because I don't know, it's something about him saying it, because it's almost like he didn't have to say it. Because he said some people believe that they're successful because of spanking, and then turn around and say, but how do we know they aren't successful despite spanking? Well, how do you know they're not successful because they were spanked, like they said? Because they're the ones who experienced it. If they experienced it and they're saying that they are successful because of it, then they're successful because of it. Who are you to tell them what they experienced and what it meant? Only they can tell us that, because they're the ones who went through it. So moving on, let's go on ahead and play the last portion of the clip.
Sorry, I think we're both nervous on this because it's slightly triggering, I guess would be the word. I grew up in an abusive home. So I never want my kids to feel the way that I felt. Like, it's not just about them obeying or learning a lesson, it's also about your relationship with that child. So sometimes I wish I did, because it seems easier or quicker, and you don't really have to like think about it. It's just well, this is my easy tool. So I do sometimes, because I'm exhausted, wish that it was an option for me. I can't go there personally. The whole spanking is contradictory, because we're telling our kids it's not okay for you to hit, but it's okay for me, an adult, to hit you.
Okay, something with her is like a couple of things with her. It's just like with Yan. This is her experience. You know, she's expressing to us her experience with discipline. And she said specifically that she had come from an abusive household, right? So in her mind, again, like Yan, what she experienced, she looking at it as abusive. But what she's doing is grouping that in with spanking when it is not. So we go back to the point of being confused as to what spanking is and what abuse is. And I just feel like as an adult, you should be able to differentiate and know what spanking is and what abuse is, and not tie the two of them together. And I feel that people doing that often is what causing the problems that we have today. Because if you think about the the bad stuff that we see in the world today, all the shooting, the mass shootings and things like that, I guarantee you, if they were to go back and give a interview with these people, it would come out that they were abused, not spanked. Because if you tell them what happened in your life, if they say they were abused, well, how were you abused? They would start describing abusive things, not spanking. None of them would actually say, well, my mom spanked me on the butt, or my dad spanked me on my butt. They usually go on to say real crazy, drastic stuff that they experienced, that they went through, which is abuse, not spanking. And I wish we can go back and find all these people that they said they interviewed and be specific with them. And I guarantee you, we would see that spanking, they were talking about abuse and not spanking. And then we can go back and talk about, why don't we go back and pull some of those people who were actually spanked and find out how their lives are and see what they thought about it? Because I do know that spanking is being confused with abuse. I've heard it myself from people, you know. And then with her, I can't help but talk about the smirk she had on her face, you know. She said that smirk, she had that smirk on her face as if she felt like she really said something important. Because if you think about it, she said that we're contradicting because we tell our children on one hand not to hit, but then we as an adult turn around and hit our children. In actuality, children are just that. They're children. They have no authority whatsoever. So as children who has no authority, they have absolutely, positively no business, no reason to put their hands on anybody else. But on the other hand, me, you, her, as parents, we are what they call authority figures, ma'am. And as women of authority over our children, per, as that expert says, the doctrine, we have the right, according to the doctrine, to not spare that rod so that our children will not be spoiled. So what she said was not intelligent at all because she didn't think what she was saying. She didn't think about it. So let me give you a scenario as well, because I feel like this is necessary. I'm about to close it up because the expert actually did at the end. Only thing he did after that was mention his top 3 go-to when disciplining children. He mentioned that it was putting them in timeout. I agree. He mentioned taking things away when they err, when they do bad, and then rewarding good behavior. And I agree with all 3 of those things. It's just that I don't agree with him because he's saying it as if that's what the only thing that we need to be doing. And let me tell you why I don't agree with it. And I'm going to tell it to you with the scenario. We have little Penny. Maybe she's 6 years old, 7 years old. And she's sitting on the floor coloring in a book that her mom, who is a single mom, it's just the 2 of them living in the house. And so she's drawing in her coloring book. She got her purple crayon and she sees a butterfly. And she's like, so pretty. So she wants to draw it herself. She doesn't have a sketch pad. So she goes to the wall behind her and she starts drawing on the wall. And mom sees it. Oh, Penny baby, don't draw on the wall. That's why I gave you the coloring book. Go ahead, color in your book, baby. So little Penny goes back to her book and she starts coloring with her purple color and her brown color and whatever. Then she turns the page. She picks up a purple crayon again and she sees a bird. Oh, the bird is so pretty. I want to draw it. So she gets up and she draws on the wall again. And her mama sees a Penny. Didn't I tell you not to draw on the wall? Well, give me your book. Give me your coloring book and your crayon. Now you can't color anything because you colored on the wall. I told you not to do that. So Penny is mad. And so Penny, she pouting. Mom goes back to do what she's doing. Unbeknownst to mom, Penny had already put the green crayon in her pocket because that's her favorite color. So Penny takes the green color out and she proceeds to go and finish her little bird. And mama, Penny, where did you get that crayon for? Didn't I tell you not to color on my wall? So she gets up and comes towards Penny. But what does Penny do? Penny runs and Penny goes across the room and she starts drawing on the other wall. And mom comes that way and Penny goes to the 3rd wall, draws on that one. And then mama finally get that voice. Penny, I'm not playing with you. Give me that crayon. So she stops and she gives her mama the crayon. So her mama puts her in timeout. You go in timeout because you colored on 3 of my walls. And so mama said, Penny said, but I don't want to be on the wall, mama. I'm sorry. I'm not going to draw on the wall anymore. Of course you're not going to draw on the wall anymore. You don't have any more crayons. But anyway, so she wanders off the wall and mama probably once or twice tell her get back on the wall, go get back in timeout, but she wanders off. And mama, what she's going to do? Tell me in the comment area, what would you do in that scenario? Because what in the world is mama gonna do? Because the little Penny just keeps wandering off out of timeout. So it's like Penny doesn't have to do timeout now. And all of so mama just leave it alone. Mama already knew earlier that day that she wanted to go and get some groceries, right? So mama decides to go. Her part of the punishment for Penny would be to leave Penny at home, but mama doesn't have a babysitter, so she has to take Penny with her. So they go to the store, get into the store, and Penny sees her favorite candy. Oh, mama, can I? And mama said, no, Penny, you know you're not getting any candy. You drew on 3 of my walls. You're not getting anything. And so mama began to start trying to put stuff in the basket, and Penny is steadily asking. She asked 2 other times. So after that 3rd time, my mom saying, no, you can't have it, because they were about to go into the checkout line. And Penny just falls out on the floor. I want my candy. Mom is embarrassed as all get out now. So after picking Penny up and trying to calm Penny down, mama's going to do 1 or 2 things, because she's not going to spank her kid because she's in it. Tell me what you do in the comments below. So mama going to do 1 or 2 things. Either mom is going to go ahead and buy the candy for Penny, and then she's going to proceed to get her groceries and get on out the store. And then they're going to get home. Or Penny is going to embarrassingly leave the basket right where it is, take little Penny, go out the door, go home. Either way, she's going home. And what good is it? Because guess what? She walking into a home with 3 walls with green and purple coloring on it. She doesn't have a grocery. She can't fix what she wants for dinner. Maybe got to get a cold cut or something now for the 2 of them. And little Penny didn't learn anything except I could do what I want to do, because mama not going to do anything about it. Mama has no control. What are you going to do as the parent? You cannot hit her because you are against spanking. What in the world would you do? Please. And this is not a funny thing. I really and truthfully want to know what you would do, because I keep thinking about it and I can't think of anything to do in that sense except give in. And to me, that's really bad. And that's why you have so many children out there with mental health, because as they get older, it may be good when they're younger because I can do what I want to do. But then as they get older and they realize their other their friends and so forth has curfews, or their mom care enough to do this, they start to wonder, well, do my mom even care enough to whatever? But by that time, you're older, so it's a pattern for the mom not to even do anything. So now it's hard for mama to jump in there and try and be that parent, to try and guide you like you need to. She's been so used to letting you have your own way. I just want to know what to do, because I really and truthfully don't see what a parent would do if they did not believe in spanking. Because at that time, most definitely a spanking it's due. It's due. Yeah. Me personally, the second time I told her, like the first time I would have stopped. I would have did just what the parent did and told her, no, don't color. That's on the wall. That's why I gave you the coloring book. Color in the coloring book. Don't color on the wall. That's not good. You understand why we can't color on the wall? And we would have brought out some more stuff as to why you got to keep your home nice and clean and whatever. And you know, it doesn't look good. I know as a little child, you may see it and think it looks pretty, but we got visitors. They're not going to think it's pretty. They'll think it's a rundown place, blah, blah, whatever. You know, just tell them what you need to tell them in your reasoning with them and teaching with them. So please, people, I beg of you, put that in the comment area, because I really want to know. I need to know what people who does not believe in spanking would do in such a scenario, because I'm coming up empty. So that's all I have, peeps. Until our next video, this is Shell signing out. Have a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.